The Taliban takeover has also sparked fresh concerns of a refugee crisis as Afghans try and escape the arms group. An estimated 400,000 people have been forced to flee their homes since the beginning of the year. That's according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. Shabia Mantoo is the UNHCR global spokesperson. She says those numbers are rising rapidly.
Well, we're seeing massive, large-scale internal displacement within the country. As of today, where we have numbers of up to 550,000 people that have been forced to flee their homes inside Afghanistan. So these are people who've been forced to flee, and they're trying to seek safety and refuge wherever they can in other parts of the country. A significant number have fled to Kabul, but we are seeing movements all around, and the situation is varied. Some people are actually taking shelter with extended family members or other members of the local community. Some are apparently sleeping out in the open or finding shelter in mosques or wherever they can just set up for a while. So we're seeing a large-scale internal displacement at this point.
What help are you able to offer on the ground? And has the Taliban offered any assurances that the UNHCR can get on with your job in safety?
Well, since the beginning of the year, we, as part of the broader UN humanitarian effort, we have assessed the humanitarian needs of about 400,000 internally displaced Afghan civilians. So our response is ongoing. We are providing emergency life-saving aid, food, shelter, sanitation. There are urgent life-saving critical needs that people require. And our commitment is for the Afghan civilians, those that have been displaced or affected. So we are there to provide humanitarian assistance. This is how we work in very complex situations. So we obviously the humanitarian relief effort is predicated on being able to access people and communities in need, and also having those safety and security guarantees. But this is a part of our work, and we are committed to be able to deliver that assistance as much as we can.
We know Pakistan has closed a border crossing. What can and should Afghanistan's neighbouring countries be doing to help at this stage?
Well, so far we've seen much of the displacement inside the country, so we're seeing those numbers of really Afghans moving elsewhere. We haven't seen massive numbers of those crossing international borders or basically seeking refuge outside the country at this point. Obviously, it's a very evolving situation. It's very fast-moving. Things are happening minute by minute, so we are monitoring the situation. But in general, we appeal to all countries to ensure that Afghans who are in need of protection can access safety, can access asylum. Afghanistan's neighbours have had a long history of generosity. They are host to 90% of Afghan refugees worldwide. We've seen Iran and Pakistan extend that spirit of hospitality and generosity over the decades. So that is an appeal that we'll continue to make, to call on not just neighbouring countries, but also the world to really show their support and solidarity with people who've been affected.
And further afield, the UK is saying it can facilitate around 1,000 evacuations a day. What else can the international community be doing to offer asylum to refugees?
Well, the situation now, we're seeing massive humanitarian needs inside the country, so there needs to be support for the humanitarian response inside the country to assist civilians who've been affected, and then also for the refugees that are outside the country. As I mentioned, the large number of Afghan refugees are really hosted within the immediate vicinity of Afghanistan, in Iran and Pakistan, so it's really important that those host countries are also supported. I mean, they are hosting sizable numbers of Afghan refugees at the moment, so they do need continued support for their own response. And then also, in the event of any cross-border movement and cross-border flows, they obviously, international community has to step up and support them. They cannot do it alone.